So everything happens for a reason, although it might be really bad when it's happening. It
Yeah.
always works out. And probably the biggest advice I can give is so many people stress about, am I making the right decision? Do I want to quit photography? Do I want to go all in on the magazine? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And there's really no right answer. And whatever choice you make is not forever.
Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe, where we pour positive back into your day, sharing stories from real people who have made it through some real struggles, but were able to restore their health, hope, and peace. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and as a certified coach, I'm here to guide you to be your best self-advocate, to help you restore your health, ignite your faith, and conquer those fears while you navigate your own healing journey so you can eventually exchange your dis-ease for durability. If you're looking for hope and encouragement to live a life you love, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and there once was this famous man who said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." Oh, what a brilliant way to look at life, all of life, whether you're talking about your career or your family or personal life. And I think if Nelson Mandela hadn't said that, my guest today might have, because this sweet friend of mine knows how to take any experience and turn it into a win or to learn from it. This successful business owner is a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur and has embraced the twists and turns in her own business life with grace and giving herself lots of permission to pivot whenever necessary. Michelle Kuzmick has over 2 decades of experience in the business world and is passionate about empowering women to achieve their own dreams. From her early days as a photographer to her current roles as an online business specialist, a Kajabi expert, and the executive editor of She's Making Her Way magazine, Michelle has successfully walked the difficult path, and now she guides others to do the same. Michelle will be the first to tell you that juggling between career and family and personal goals is not easy. But Michelle has a way about her. She's got that comfortable, kind, and magical way of blending expertise and empathy and just a touch of grit to show you it can be done. So I'm so glad you decided to tune in to today's episode because you're going to get a lot out of this one. Grab your paper or notes app, warm up your coffee or tea, and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I am Lisa Roers, your host, and I'm so excited today to introduce you to my guest, Michelle Kuzmick, who is absolutely doing all she can to make her way in all kinds of different ways. And we're going to hear a little bit about that as she tells her story today. So, Michelle, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for letting me be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we've shared a few things about our stories and the things, and you've done so many beautiful pivots and recreations of your business and your life throughout your career in some really inspiring ways. I'd love
Aw.
for you to share some of that with my audience and as a point of introduction, tell them a little bit about where you're at right now.
Okay, so big deep breath. Where I'm at right now is I am an online business specialist and Kajabi expert. I have a couple other things going on. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur, but that's really what I'm focusing on now and going into 2025.
Sounds great. And for those who don't know it, Kajabi is a technology platform that a lot of people who do podcasts or courses or things like that host their stuff on Kajabi. And it does take some good, strong intellect to figure out how to use that program. And you are wonderful at coaching your clients
Oh,
through that.
you're so sweet. Your problems are so minor when you message me. It's kind of like, oh, that's an easy fix
Oh,
here.
I love it. I love it. That's great. So, okay, you have you were used to be a photographer and you've got so many beautiful things in your career that kind of brought you little by little to where you are. How did that whole thing start? Let's start at the beginning.
So, way back, I never had a dream to be a business owner. And I couldn't afford to go to college, but I was very fortunate to go to work for a company and did really well. And they paid for me to go back to school to work on my accounting degree. So in the year 2000, I was on the board of directors of that company. For what I was making at that time was an ungodly amount for that day and age. And I thought I was just set. That's where I was going to be for the rest of my life. I had been married for almost 8 years at that point. And I got pregnant. And with my first pregnancy, I ended up having a miscarriage. And the owner of the company told me I had to come into work anyway.
Wow.
And that was really, really hard for me because and I think I've shared this with you before, I've always been taught from my very first boss, what you do, if you fall off the face of the earth, somebody needs to be able to come in behind you and do it with ease. So for me to not go into work for 4 hours that day when I was working for 60 hours a week anyway was just crazy.
Mm.
Um, I got pregnant very quickly after that, within 3 months, and I was pregnant with my daughter. And I knew, I was like, I'm never going to be able to be the mom that I want to be if I'm working here. Because, like most moms, if my boss would have told me I couldn't get off work to be with my daughter or something, I probably would have lost it. And so I had been dabbling in photography. I started the photography business in 2000. My daughter was born in December of 2001. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I can make enough money that we can get by until she goes to kindergarten. And by time she went to kindergarten, I had another son and another son. So then it was they had to get out of kindergarten. And by time they were all out of kindergarten, I was doing so well in photography, I couldn't go back to the corporate world. So that's kind of how my photography business started. And, it was just kind of, I did what I needed to do to be the mom I wanted to be. And one thing I like to share with everyone, photography, lots of photographers, and I have a Michelle Kuzmick Photography Business Academy. Lots of photographers, that's their passion. And photography was never my passion. I loved it. I'm good at it. I've done well, but it was a means to an end.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
I can do this, I can do it well, I can make money, that kind of thing. And my passion really came about when after me and their dad separated after being married for 20 years. And I was sitting on a beach and I was losing business as a photographer because you have to do things in person. And I had taken an online course with Christine Hassler. She's kind of in the emotion or the mental health realm and working through relationships and stuff. And I was thinking, I'd like to do that so I can work from anywhere. And that has always been my passion
Mm.
is just to help others no matter what realm it was in. So even when I was a photographer, my brides, would laugh at me and they would say, she cut our wedding cake. And I was like, well, you didn't have anybody else to do it. Or, one time one of my brides, her bouquet froze the night before the wedding. And I just sent her a text and I said, send me a picture. I'll take care of it. I don't know what I was thinking because I've never designed a bouquet in my life. But I went to Michael's, picked up all the stuff and made it for her. So my coaching business officially started in 2019 and it's kind of evolved since then to she's making her way brand now. But it was, just always about helping people. And I've been so blessed I have, and I know lots of people think this, but and my kids are truly amazing, and I've never missed a moment, a
Mm.
play, a game, anything in their lives. And now that they're spreading their wings and coming back, spreading their wings and coming back, I don't have any regrets. Sometimes people will say, I spent so many years working and doing this and doing that, but I didn't. And for that I'm blessed. And I think that every woman, if that's something they want to do, that they should have that opportunity to.
Yeah, well, I think that's Some women love the career world and that's really
Mhm,
their passion. And that's
mhm.
one avenue. But I think all too often we celebrate that and we forget to celebrate the fact that some women really have a passion to be a mom. And
Yeah.
their desire is really to be there for all of those different
Mhm.
things. And they aren't as compelled to be in the corporate world. And I feel like we should celebrate that too.
I think that is so true, and I I never wanted to be a mom, ever.
Yeah.
And then, it happens and it's like, no, I mean, I'm going to be the mom at the PTA and doing the classrooms, and I'm not going to have anybody say you can't leave work to take your kid to the doctor or, have to ask permission. So yeah, so I've been blessed, but I also, I work with women that they've been in the corporate world all this time. They were happy there and now they're switching to think, yeah, maybe there's more to life than punching a time card and stuff. So everybody's journey is different. And I just think you accept people for where they are and you support them, whatever their decisions are.
Yeah, and frankly, I'm grateful that there are people who want to be in the corporate world because I don't want to be
Yeah.
there anymore. And I'm grateful that there are people who want to stay home with their kids because, there's kids that need really that mom support and father support too. So, things like that.
When I went through my divorce, and of course, if anybody's ever been through a divorce, I mean, it's just it's not just your relationship, your whole life is suffering. And leading up to it, my business had suffered. And at that time, I was only doing portrait work and portraits and weddings, things like that. And I was like, I'm going to have to go back to work. And so I interviewed for a couple jobs, found a job. They called, and I didn't even know what the going salary was being out of the corporate world for so long. And, I was like, oh, that's a really great paycheck. And I sat down and I was like, and my kids were old enough, they could put themselves on the bus and stuff. And I was like, I can't do this. I
Mhm.
cannot. I built a six-figure business one time and I can do it again. And I started shooting real estate, which is something I never wanted to do because I'm a people person. And when people ask me, why did you start shooting real estate? Because I love it. And that's pretty much all I shoot now. I said, I knew that if I shot two houses a week, I could buy groceries.
It's
And it
just a
was an
matter.
easy sell, and it was just kinda like, "All right, you do what you gotta do," and that's how every business that I've ever had has grown. It's, "All right, well, what do I gotta do? I gotta buy groceries, so I need $250 a week, 2 houses, done." Yes.
There you go.
And, and now I absolutely love it because I don't work nights, I don't work weekends, and I'm retiring next year officially from the photography world, so
Oh my goodness. What a
yeah.
career. That's so amazing. The
Yeah.
thing that stands out to me so much about your story, Michelle, is the way that you've given yourself permission to
Mhm.
pivot through multiple different phases, right? Multiple different times. You said, nope, it's going to be time for a pivot. Tell us a little bit about how that impacted your path.
Well, sometimes it was just I had to. I had no other choice, And for anyone, because it's always easy to tell your story after you've gone through
Mm,
it.
mm,
But if anyone's struggling, there were lots of tears and lots of meltdowns on the bathroom floor when I put
mm.
the kids in bed and stuff like that. But it was every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to figure out how to make this work. And for me, making it work, it was not not being able to put my kids on the bus or, to go to those things. And I took a job. It was funny. It was for a local real estate agency because I was shooting real estate. And they said, hey, we need someone to do our marketing. And so I worked about 10 hours a week for them while I was building my photography business back up. And that led to what I do now in the world of building businesses and stuff because I worked in their marketing department. So everything happens for a reason, although it might be really bad when it's happening. It
Yeah.
always works out. And probably the biggest advice I can give is so many people stress about Am I making the right decision? Do I want to quit photography? Do I want to go all in on the magazine? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And there's really no right answer. And whatever choice you make is not forever. One of my clients, I did her marketing and magazines for her prom store. It's a formal store. And so she sold the store and, she was stressing over what job she wanted to take because she was kind of done with being an entrepreneur and she was going back into what I call the real world. And I said to her one day, I said, but here's the thing, go to work for that company. I mean, you think you might like it. If you don't, quit. I mean, you don't have to be there. It's not like you can't find another job, and she was like, you're right. So it's what I tell everybody, like, just make a decision and and do it. It doesn't necessarily, like, I did photography for going on 25 years. And again, it wasn't my passion. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I was meant to do. But it's what I needed to do to get to the point where I am now. So, yeah. So the pivoting can be hard, but you can't take it as a failure.
Right.
It's a decision. And, I shared with you before we got on here, when I started working in the online business space, my company was going to be called Beyond the Lens because I was going from photography beyond the lens. And I started the She's Making Her Way magazine. And the further I got into it, it was like, gosh, I think all of this needs to be under the She's Making Her Way brand. And I really stressed about that. And then finally, my business coach said to me, right, Michelle, nobody cares. Because I was worried, well, what if I don't do Beyond the Lens anymore, but I'm really doing She's Making Her Way? Are people going to think that I failed at Beyond the Lens? Like, they're not going to understand it was a transition. And she's like, yeah, nobody's even thinking about that, Michelle.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, you're right. And I've said that thousands of times to my own clients, but I was like, all right, yeah, I got to get out of my head. It's nobody cares, if they hire me, it doesn't matter if it's Beyond the Lens, She's Making Her Way. Long as I do what I'm supposed to do, they're happy.
Yeah, yeah. They're hiring you, not necessarily the name of your
The
company.
name, yeah.
Yeah,
So it
so
was,
true.
yeah.
Well, those pivots are stepping stones for us for success for sure. And I love that you said that they don't have to be a permanent stepping stone. Who knows? It could turn into a 25-year career, but it
Yes.
might not. It might be a transitional thing. And either way, you learn something more about yourself and about your skills, and it brings you to the next stage.
Being an entrepreneur is probably the biggest mental health challenge you will ever face in your life. So
We all need a dedicated mental health professional if you're going to go into your own business.
we do. So when my sister, she's an RN, and she'll call me, "What'd you do today?" Talk somebody off the ledge. They want to throw in the towel. She was like, "Is that what you do?" Yeah, pretty much. The tech work is easy. It's all the pep talks. Don't quit. You've got this. You're normal. But I mean, pivoting is hard. But when you take the emotion out of it and just go, this is what needs to be done, it's good. It's easier to deal with. So.
Yeah. Would you say that was maybe one of the hardest things is just getting separating the emotion from some of those decisions?
Yes, I grew up in a very financially poor family. And a lot of the things, and it's not just me, we all have some issues with money. And which actually I don't even think I've shared this with you. So there was about 6 years I was a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics. I won a car. I was in the top 2%, like recruiting, sales, all kinds of stuff while I was working my photography business. And I would get so close to my car and it would just fall apart.
Mean to
And
earning the car, to getting
earning
to
the
that
car,
level?
yeah.
Got
I
it.
mean, I would just have the momentum, it would just fall apart. And finally, one day I sat down and I said, you know what? It's because I don't believe I deserve this.
Mm.
And I said, "You know what? I am not, for the next 90 days," that's how long I think it was then, it might have been 4 months, it took to earn a car, and I said, "I am anytime the emotion comes up, I'm gonna say no. I know exactly what I need to do to reach that level, and Imma take the emotion out of it because although I might not feel deserving and, good enough, there's one thing I know is that I am a hard worker and I'm gonna get it done. And as soon as I did that, I earned my car. I just, I went to Dallas, walked across the seminar stage. It was fabulous, but I had to take that emotion out of it and say, what do I know to be true? I know that I can work. And if somebody tells me this is what you need to do, I know that I can get it done.
Mm.
So yeah, the emotional part is hard, but sometimes you just have to say stop and give yourself permission, even if it's only 30 days, to say, I'm not going to worry about this for 30 days. I'm just going to do what I need to get done. And at the end of that 30 days, chances are you're going to have gotten further and you're not so worried about all the feelings that you had before. So
Right. Yeah. The skill of keeping those emotions in check and holding those thoughts captive is a real learned skill.
it is. And it's a habit. It's not even it's just a habit. And I don't know, gosh, what Jim 14, I think that's how you say his name. Um, but he says, when things come up like that, you just say, this is my habit brain saying this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, the more you tell yourself that, the more you get out of that habit. And and I probably say that to myself a lot. This
Well,
is the habit brain. It's not true.
exactly. Well, and harnessing and trying to just kind of get self-aware of what those emotional
Mhm,
voices are is so
mhm,
important because our emotions are driven by a lot of different things, including our hormones and what we eat and whether somebody, almost ran into us on the road in the commute on the way to work. There's so many different pieces that affect our emotions, but I love
mhm.
that you were able to stay laser focused on what you had to do to get it done.
And again, it's a up and down. I can't say I'm there. Tomorrow I might be on the floor crying, but so, but it is, and it's a choice that you have to make. Do I want to think about this
Mhm.
and dwell on whatever happened in your childhood or the guy that ran into your car or whatever it is, or do you just want to say, I can't do anything about it. I need to focus on this.
Mhm.
And, it's a choice. And sometimes you have to make it every hour, yes,
Yeah,
on some days. So,
exactly. I love how practical and how real you are.
mm,
I appreciate that because I
mm,
think sometimes it's so easy for especially coaches almost to come out and say, "Oh, the business all you have to do is 1, 2, and 3 and your business is a success." But to just acknowledge that there's a lot of difficulty along the way and, kicking and screaming and falling apart on the floor in the bathroom after the kids go to bed is a real story. That's a real
yeah,
thing.
it is a real thing. And it's funny. And I can't well, I do know what happened, but I'm not going to talk about it in case he watches this video. But the day I went to go vote,
Mhm.
the a guy came up to me with a paper and, it's either red or blue. And, he was giving me the paper for the person I wasn't going to vote for. And I was like, I just kind of was like, please just, and I just kind of snapped. And which is totally like, and I can snap, but I normally don't snap on things like that. And I went in, I realized I needed my glasses to vote. I came back outside. I went over to him. I said, "Sir, I am truly sorry." And he's like, "No." And I said, "No." I said, and I told him what had happened. And I said, "I was not angry at you in the least. And, you're here supporting your person, and I can appreciate that. And I am in no way mad at you." And I think I
Mm.
apologized to him when I went back in. I came back in. And, but, it was one of those things I was like, "Gosh, why did I just snap?" But something happened, before I got there, and And I always try to think about that when, something's happening is so what did they deal with? Like, why are
Right.
they coming at me like this? Now,
Right.
I don't always process it like that, but
Well, we don't always have the opportunity to either. Sometimes we are, in the car on the next thing, you're like, oh, I should have apologized to that person. And so we have
yeah,
to, it's a good thing to remember when someone treats us that way, that it's
mhm.
very possible that their patience was just worn thin by the other 20 things that happened to them that day. And it had nothing to do with us.
Yeah, that and I try to to remember that all the time. This is not about me. And most likely it is never about you. If someone's coming at you, rather it's something that has been triggered in them, or just a bad day or something like that. It really has nothing to do with you as a person, but we internalize that. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
when the volcano erupts, it's not your doing that caused it to erupt. You just
right,
happen to be the one in front of that person when they
right,
decided to lose their cool.
right.
Well, I'm so excited and inspired by all the different things you've
Oh,
done and the ways you've pivoted your career to just allow yourself the opportunity, well, I've got to do something different now and I want to do something different, and just giving yourself that freedom.
mhm,
Looking back on all the different things you've done and the different serial entrepreneurial things that you've
mhm,
done, I love the way you say
mhm.
that.
Yes.
What are some of the most wonderful things that have come out of being able to have that kind of a lifestyle of an entrepreneur?
Um, I mean, honestly, when my kids were little, it was all about my kids and being a mom.
The
And
flexibility and
the
timing?
flexibility, when I one day they called, one of the kids was sick, and I have a garage, and I never wear shoes in the house, and I left, got in the car, got to and realized I never put on
Oh, no.
shoes. So, like, I text the teacher, "Hey, I gotta go back and put on shoes." But, just to have that ability when anything was happening in their lives, and even now, most recently, my nephew was attacked by a dog, and I was calling my clients that I was working with on the way to the hospital crying, but telling them I can't get this done. And 3 days before that, a friend of mine from high school, his wife is disabled, and his mom was being moved from the hospital to the rehabilitation center, and they told him that the ambulance wasn't covered. He had to take her, and his wife can't help him. And, he called me and was like, "Hey, are you busy?" Like, never ask an entrepreneur, "Are you busy?"
'Cause the answer is always yes.
Right, and "What do you need?" And he said, "I need to get my mom from the hospital to," it's like a nursing home rehab facility, and I said, and I hadn't even taken a shower.
Mm,
Because I didn't need to, because I didn't wasn't meeting clients, and,
right,
I said, "When?" And he was like, "45 minutes." They just called me from the hospital, and I was able to say, "I'll be there."
nice.
And to have that ability is just such a blessing to be able to do that,
Mm,
and then and not just in crisis. The funny thing, my youngest said to me one day, because I'm always going places because I can work from anywhere in the world, and
mhm.
my kids can take care of themselves, and it's just fabulous. And he was leaving. I said, "Where are you going?" He told me. I said, "All right, well, I'm not going to be here when you get back." And he looks at me. My kids call me either Shell Dog, something like that, and
Okay.
so he goes, "Where are you going now, Shell Dog? Hawaii, Aruba?" And I was like, "The grocery store?"
Just something local today.
Yeah, but I mean, it's because I love to travel, and I wasn't able to do that when the kids were growing up. Their dad didn't really like it, and now, as a single 52-year-old, I can get up and say, "Hey, I think I want to go to the beach this weekend," and put my, laptop with me and head off. So the time freedom is probably the biggest thing from being an entrepreneur. And as I say that, I want to stress that there is work in being an entrepreneur. Even though I can make my own schedule, sometimes that means that I might work 16 hours, a day, 5 days in a row because, like, I had those two things that I had to stop doing to help out some people. And so since last Wednesday, I have been going nonstop. I worked all weekend and stuff. And so it's not that I just get to, hey, I get to do this whenever. Most of the time I can, but there's a lot of times where it's, this has got to get done. So,
Yeah. Well, and especially when you're a solo entrepreneur,
mhm.
it's not like you have a team back at the office who are gonna pick up the slack when you have
Right.
something that comes up. That just means there's more work for you to do when you get back to the
When you get
office.
back. Yeah.
Got it. Well, that's a beautiful encouragement for anybody out there who's trying to make their way in their own
Mhm.
world, in their own business. I think being an entrepreneur can bring humanity back into your lifestyle, but it can also really overcome you if you don't put the right boundaries in place to keep some sanity in place. That's
Yeah, it really, really can. One of my very first coaching programs courses, it was the Priority Project, and I'm actually going to turn that into a book as soon as I find something, have time. Um,
right.
but that was what it was all about was, okay, so what is your priority? It's not about work life balance. Sometimes it's about what is the priority in this moment. And, you can't, you have to set boundaries, but there's also give and take. So,
Yeah. But sometimes when you wanna achieve what you're trying to achieve, the balance is way on one side.
right,
That teeter-totter goes back and forth, and sometimes it's all the way on one side, and sometimes it's on the other, but yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, it's been just such a pleasure to have you, Michelle, and to learn a little bit about how you are
Oh,
using pivots in your career to bless other people, to take care of your kids, and to be the beautiful servant you are in your job with the way that you serve
oh.
your clients and all the things you do there. So, if someone wanted to reach out to you for coaching or assistance with Kajabi or whatever else it might be, how would they find you?
MichelleKuzmick.com. That's everything that I do from photography to the magazine, Kajabi. It's all on that website.
Excellent. Okay, I will make sure we put that in the show notes so people know how to spell it and all that.
Mm, mm.
And is
Thank
there any
you.
final encouragements or words of advice that you'd like to share?
I guess probably I would just, anyone out there, whether they're trying to start a business or they're failing at the one that they're having, is just keep going because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I've failed a million times, and just keep going. And there's never going to be a right time to start something.
Yeah, one of my friends said it so well. It's hard to start it today, but a year from now, you'll be glad you did.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly it. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, Michelle, for your wisdom and just giving us your time today. It was really wonderful to see you again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
One of the things I just love about podcasting is sometimes the topics I cover meet me right where I'm at. And Michelle's words of wisdom were exactly what I needed to hear this week. I hope they were equally helpful for you. Today I've got 9 quick takeaways and we're going to whip through these pretty fast. So here we go. Number 1, work is a means to an end. In life, you don't always get to follow a plan, and that's okay. Because sometimes the work is just the means to the end. And when you're paying your bills and being responsible and feeling independent, well, that's all it has to be, a means to an end. Number 2, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you need groceries and you don't have a job, then humble yourself. Go get a job at McDonald's or Starbucks, or do that construction job, or get that photography gig. If it's putting groceries on the table and paying the bills, then great. Who cares what the job is? And be willing to do what's needed, even if it's not technically your job, because this is gonna set you apart and help you be noticed and give you a chance to bless others along the way. Remember that quick story Michelle told us about cutting the cake, and she even created a replacement bouquet for one of the brides that she was actually supposed to be taking pictures for. It wasn't her job to do those things, but I guarantee that the bride she was working with will never forget Michelle's kindness and probably sent a lot of business her way. Number 3, live your life without regret. Michelle gave herself permission to pivot, which allowed her to live without regrets. She was able to be the mom she wanted to be during those years when it really mattered, and she was able to build a business that she could enjoy for the rest of her life. Number 4, Corporate or homemaker, there's room for both. Some women love the career world, and some women really have a passion to be a mom and a wife. While there is room for both, don't forget that it might not be possible to do both at the same time and still live your life without regret. If you're one of those women out there who's chosen to be 100% a mom and homemaker, I just want to applaud you. It is a high calling, and I think it's one that deserves equal, if not more respect than going into an office. There are no rules of engagement at home. You have to balance it all and still find a way to raise responsible, hardworking kiddos who can contribute to our world. And I fully respect, honor, and celebrate that kind of career. So well done, moms. Number 5, give yourself permission to pivot. Life is a series of pathways, especially if you're growing a business. So it's okay to pivot. And remember, whatever choice you make doesn't have to be a forever choice. Just make a decision. Keep on going. It's not a failure. It's a chance to pivot. Number 6, don't get stuck on the details. Nobody really cares anyway what you call your business, what your logo looks like, or what the colors are, the taglines that you might choose. They want to know if you can help them, period. So don't get too bogged down by the details as you're building your business. Number 7, being an entrepreneur is a big mental health challenge. So just know that. Don't quit. Keep pressing on. You've got this. Yes, it's hard, but allow yourself to take the emotion out of it and just focus on doing what you have to get done. Table the really big self-doubts, just set them on the side table for a few days, 30 days, and then come back to them later. What you think about is your choice. Don't let the doubt cross the line and overcome your potential to be successful. Number 8, I had to include this one in here because Michelle reminds us, don't ever start your conversation with an entrepreneur with, "Are you busy?" Because guess what? Yeah, the answer is always yes. And number 9, business builder wisdom. Yes, it's hard to start that big project. It's hard to start a business. It's hard to pursue that dream. But my friends, just start today because a year from now, you will be very glad you did. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. Please, if you would, share this episode. You just never know what kind of encouragement could be in this conversation that someone you know needs to hear. So pass it along, share it, like it, and subscribe. Let's work together to flood the world with more encouragement. Until next time, my friends, stay encouraged, be inspired, and we'll see you right back here next time at the Sunshine Cafe.